2012. And I'm going to do just a quick review because we always have several new folks on these webinars, and that's true again today. So if you're interested in starting a Move to Amend group in your community, I'll give you just a quick skinny on that. I know we all have several folks who are part of Move to Amend groups here too, so we'll be brief about that, and information about Move to Amend affiliates, which is what our local groups are called. And then we're going to tell you about, you're basically going to be getting a sneak preview about a campaign that we're officially launching later this week called Occupy the Courts, which is a call to action for Friday, January 20th, which is the day before the Citizens United anniversary, but it's also a Friday, so it's a work day when the courts will be open. So we're going to tell you about that and hopefully get you excited, because we're hoping that folks all over the country will participate in that action. And then there'll be an opportunity for Q&A, which you can type us your questions, and we will respond with as much time as we've got, and then we'll let you know how you can continue to follow up and give you some info about next steps. So just to review on getting started, if you don't have a Move to Amend group and you'd like to start one, Move to Amend has local affiliates all over the country. We try to make it pretty easy for folks to come on and participate with Move to Amend and get involved, and then have a direct role in our campaign and our organization. So if you want to get started, it's really easy. All you have to do is hold an organizing meeting, which week could actually serve as this organizing meeting if you like. Invite your friends, and if you do it later than next week, we'll publicize the event on the Move to Amend website, and then we'll also get the word out to all our petition signers who are in your area and let them know so that you can get more people engaged. And for the house parties, we've obviously already gotten the word out and showed our map to our whole list, so hopefully you'll end up with some Move to Amend folks at your house party. And then we suggest that you start involving the public. That's one of the first things to do when you're starting a new Move to Amend group. So you can do that by bringing a speaker to your community for a public forum. We have a 10-session study guide that's put together by one of our partners, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. They have a Challenge Corporate Power Asserting the People's Rights study group that you can do with your group and also open up to the public in your community. And you can start gathering signatures for Move to Amend. And there's lots of other creative things you can do as well. There's a lot of resources on our website, but those are just 3 easy things that your group could start doing. And then after that, and after you get going, we ask that you affiliate with Move to Amend so that you can officially use our name, and so that we can grow our numbers and have grassroots organizing in even more communities. So what we ask from our affiliates is that you have an emphasis and commitment to coalition and movement building, so that you're working with the diversity of your community and a number of organizations, and that's what we're committing to do at the national level as well. That you use our Move to Amend name. There are folks who have adopted other names plus Move to Amend, and that's okay too, but as long as the Move to Amend name is in there. And that you, when you're gathering signatures, you share your list with us, and then we also provide the local names, access for you to reach the local names in your community too. That you work to have a democratic internal process so that we can be reflecting our commitment to democracy in our internal work, and a commitment to anti-oppression and movement building organizing. And there's some materials on our website for how to get started to do that, but we really think that if this movement is going to be successful, we need to be bringing in marginalized communities, people of color, poor people, and through our affiliates and on the ground in communities is the ways that we're going to do that. So we have some resources to help you get started if you're not already doing that, and also to explain why that's important to us. And then ultimately, our local affiliates will have the opportunity to go on to build state chapters. And state chapters at Move to Amend will have representation on our national steering committee and actual voting power to steer the organization. So we're committed to building a democratic organization as we're working for democracy in the United States. And if you have more questions, the link at the top, movetoamend.org/affiliate, is where you can download the application to affiliate, and you can find out more. And if you're part of an already existing group, we do have the capability for you to come on as an affiliate, as a partner affiliate. So you can either be a brand new group, or you can actually be a chapter of another national organization or a local group that already exists, and you can become a partner affiliate and not have to reinvent the wheel. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve to talk about this exciting new campaign, Occupy the Courts.
Thanks, Caitlin. Before I talk about that, though, I wanted to just make a pitch to the people who are out there who aren't part of affiliates yet, to let them know how easy it is to get plugged in, and to let the people who are part of affiliates to know how valuable their input is to Move to Amend. Because a year and a half ago, literally, I was just a person who was angry and pissed off about the Citizens United decision, but didn't know how to really react to it in any coherent way. And within a while, I had heard about Move to Amend on the Thom Hartmann show, and I got involved with Colorado Move to Amend, and within a year, I have become one of the co-chairs of Colorado Move to Amend. And not only that, and having input on the state level, once I became the chair for Colorado Move to Amend, as Caitlin said, you become one of the national steering committee members, and I came up with this idea of how Move to Amend should respond to the second anniversary of Citizens United, and I mentioned it at a steering committee meeting, and now Move to Amend has adopted it. So in a year and a half, I've gone from just a person who signed a Move to Amend petition to somebody who is literally helping Move to Amend organize a nationwide protest and reaction to the most heinous Supreme Court decision that has come down the pike since the Dred Scott case. And to me, it's mind-boggling that Move to Amend is so open to us at the grassroots and the ideas that we can bring to the issue. So, what got me started thinking along these lines is this palpable sense, and I'm sure that you can all feel it, that there's something going on in the country. I get the feeling that there really is democracy in the air in this country, with the people in Madison, Wisconsin, and all the wonderful things that they did in the winter, and the pushback against Scott Walker and Alec and the Republicans. From there, Caitlin, next slide, there was the tar sands action in Washington, and Caitlin, there you go. To me, that was just awe-inspiring to see people day after day after day lining up to take civil disobedience arrest over something as important as tar sands. And now it's gone viral. It's gone worldwide with the whole Occupy movement. So there's really just this sense out there in the country that things are fundamentally broken, and that we, I feel, at Move to Amend, have the action step for people like Occupy. I don't want to try to co-opt Occupy. I don't want to try to direct Occupy. But I think that if we lead by example and show people that we have the action step, we have the solution to the problem that everybody's pissed off about, that I think they will naturally follow us. What really brought this clearly to mind for me was Dr. Cornel West, who got arrested on the steps of the Supreme Court back on October 17th, the day they dedicated the Martin Luther King Memorial in Washington. and it just clicked to me. It's like, this is what we should do. We need to have an action focused on the U.S. Supreme Court and the federal courts, because that's truly where the problem lies. These unelected justices, the smallest, most unaccountable branch of the federal government, is actually giving our country away to money corporations, and it's just wrong. So I thought we have to have an action that focuses the light there on the federal court. So what came to me was, we should occupy the federal courts, the entire country, starting with the Supreme Court. Next slide. A wonderful place to have an action, and we have already submitted the paperwork for our permit to protest in front of the Supreme Court on January 20, 2012. But Washington is far away. And so there are U.S. Courts of Appeals in 11 cities in the United States. There are Courts of Appeals in Boston, in New York, in Philadelphia, Richmond, Virginia, New Orleans, Cincinnati, Chicago, St. Louis, San Francisco, Denver, and Atlanta. And we would like to see a move to amend protest in front of every single one of those courts. We in Denver have already submitted our permit for a protest in front of the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in Denver. But if going to a large city in your state is difficult for you travel-wise, there are 89 federal courts in the United States. There's at least one in every state, but a lot of states have multiple federal courts. So we're hoping to get as many people as we can out in front of those 89 U.S. District Court buildings. And in order to do that, we're calling on you folks, the affiliates, to find the federal court in your area, be it a district court or a court of appeals. We can help you with the petition, the permit process. We can send you the permit. You'll have to find the office at the courthouse, but each courthouse has a facility manager to submit it to. We submitted ours by fax, so it's really not difficult to submit a request for permit, and then begin organizing an occupation, a one-day occupation of that federal courthouse. Some of the ideas that we've been kicking around for occupations are, for example, a procession or parade to the courthouse. Lots of part of the countries, it's going to be cold on January 20th. We're calling on people to come out anyways, just like they did in Washington this week for the coffee party. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, I want to see people in front of those courthouses. People can drive there in a funeral procession by car. If it's too cold to walk, you can march a short distance to it, but focus something on the front of your federal courthouse. Line up local celebrities, local politicians, local activists who can come and give short speeches with an emphasis on the short. If it's going to be cold out there, nobody wants to listen to people drone on for a half hour at a time. I'm thinking about asking people to limit in Denver their speeches to about 10 minutes max. 10 minutes is actually a very long time to be speaking, and that way we can get a lot of speakers up there. Another interesting thing that they did at the coffee party rally in Washington was to have an open mic where they had people signing up to get up there and give their 2 cents worth. And I'm thinking that that's something that we would like to see happen here in Denver. for our Occupy the Court rally. There are lots of skits that are circulating on the internet and within the Move to Amend community. There's a great little two-person play called The Prosecution of Judge Waite. There's the story of a corporate person. There's an interview with a corporate person that we in Colorado here call Mega Conglomero, because we have two pretty creative artistic people, and they've made a larger than life-size puppet costume. So they do the interview with a corporate person with an actual giant-sized three-headed corporate person. So there's opportunities for that kind of street theater to happen. We're also conceiving of this as a possible civil disobedience action. I know that taking an arrest for in defense of the Constitution is something I'm seriously considering doing. Some of the civil disobedience ideas that we've come up with is to physically block the court, to symbolically block corporate access to the courts, because corporations do have a lot more. They have the access, we don't. Caitlin, my screen just went black. There, it's back. Okay, so physically blocking the court to symbolically block access to the court. Another thing that I'm thinking about doing as a lawyer, and I am one, don't hold it against me, is to attempt or to draft a people's amicus brief. An amicus brief is a friend of the court brief that sets out the arguments that corporations are not people and money is not speech, and actually attempting to go into the U.S. Court of Appeals in Denver and asking the clerk to file this people's amicus brief on behalf of the people in every case where a corporation's interests are opposed to a person's interests. Those are actions that might or might not cause the authorities to react. I know in Washington, you cannot step on the Supreme Court steps in protest without risking arrest, because it's not open to the public for those purposes. So in Washington, if we try to do the amicus brief, that probably is in and of itself an arrestable offense. But we're not telling anybody or everybody that they have to do civil disobedience. That's something that we're leaving to people and their conscience. Move to Amend is not opposed to civil disobedience and sees the benefit in the appropriate circumstances of civil disobedience. And again, we're leaving that to the individual people who have to make that choice for themselves. So next slide, Caitlin. I think that what we really are hoping to do is to get you folks, the affiliate members, people like me, excited about doing an occupation in front of your federal court. You can contact us through the Move to Amend website, www.movetoamend.org/Occupy the Courts, and that will get to me as National Action Coordinator, and I can help get you the tools that you need to hold your own occupation event, and also to help coordinate if there's more than one affiliate group in a state that wants to do it, so that we're all pulling together on this action, as opposed to everybody disorganized doing everything on their own. I think it's a really great opportunity for Move to Amend to show how strong we are. We have 142,175 signatories on our petition. Let's see how many of those folks, we the affiliates, can actually get out into the streets for a concerted, unified national action in the middle of the wintertime. If we can do that, and we can get people out in front of a lot of courthouses and get some press, that's going to show that Move to Amend is a player on the national scale and on the national scene, And that's exactly what we need to be. We have the right idea. We have the only truly effective idea for solving society's problems, amending the Constitution. Let's get out there and let people know and lead them to the right idea and the right action too.
This is Caitlin. I just want to jump in. If you go to the website movetoamend.org/occupy the courts, that is the page where we'll be tracking all of this, and we'll be putting up, a similar map where there'll be actions, and then right now there's just a call to action. But we will be, by the end of this week, like I said, you're getting a sneak preview here, so we'll be putting up resources. So many of the things that Steve mentioned in terms of the skits and directions on how to make a corporate person, and the link to the permit application, all that stuff will be on the website by the end of the week, and other materials as well, stuff for how to get started doing press. So that'll be a resource where we can hold your hands, and you can also contact us, but we're intending to make it as easy as possible for you. So with that, I'm actually going to turn off the screen sharing for a moment so that I can see questions. And what I'll do is I'll read them out, and then we'll figure out who's best to answer them. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them in, or if you have comments along the lines of suggestions for how to make this action better, or other actions for the 21st of January, 20th and 21st of January, please do let us know. And we always get questions about whether this will be recorded, so it is recorded, and this will be available on the Move to Amend website. It's always available by tomorrow morning, movetoamend.org/webinars. You'll be able to see the recording slides, and the audio will be there as well. So if folks could refrain from just making comments and that are along the lines of just, random feedbacks, and put questions or ideas for everyone else, then please go ahead and do that. So Rick Casey from Boulder asks, is there some way that the Move to Amend website can be used so that local affiliates can post what they're planning on doing? Yeah, Rick, I'm hoping that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and certainly by the end of the year, unless anything goes awry again, we'll actually be in a position for affiliates to actually each have their own page on the Move to Amend website where you can post your events and your announcements, and send folks directly to that, so that you don't have to have your own website. And you also could post your Facebook feed. If you have a Facebook for your affiliate, you can post that straight to that page as well. And I'm working with our web designer on doing that, and we're making really good progress. So I expect to have that up in the next few weeks. Victor is asking, what if we don't have a federal court in our area?
I can take that one, Caitlin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Victor, as I said, there's at least one federal courthouse in every state. New York, I think, has 4 of them. The one closest to you would be in Syracuse. And we will, on the website, have a list of all the different federal courthouses around the country. One of the great ideas about this is that by having it at federal courthouses across the country, everybody doesn't have to travel to Washington. We can travel to the nearest federal facility, and there should be one in just about every state, no more than a couple of hours away at the most.
Great. Mike from Nevada wants to know where the federal court is located in Nevada. Is it in Las Vegas or somewhere else?
There is one in Las Vegas.
Great. And like Steve said, we will have, we'll visually show where they all are. And I think we could probably get it to where the district courts and the federal courts and, obviously the Supreme Court, everyone knows where that is. I was thinking there were 3, but the third one, everyone knows where that is. Any other questions or feedback, other resources, other ideas that folks have for how an event might be made more successful, ideas for actions that to be done, whether civil disobedience or legal? We are suggesting that folks get permits for these so that you're not automatically doing civil disobedience, but for everyone who comes, that would be kind of a separate piece of your action that you are intentional about, not accidental.
And let me chime in there, Caitlin. I was surprised how easy it was to get a request a permit. Our request hasn't been granted yet, but we're told that we should have it by Friday. And it really is a matter of filling out this one-page form that we'll provide and sending it into the courthouse facility manager's office. There's an office run by the General Services Administration in every courthouse, and you just fax it into them. And it took less than 10 minutes to fill out, and just a fax, push of a fax button to send in.
Great. Well, it looks like there are no more questions or comments. I'll give it another minute if anyone's still coming up with them. Let's see. Rick is just letting folks know that a good idea would be a skit that's performed like a Greek play using the chorus, which is like the Occupy Human Mics, and that could be an effective way to do the skit so that everyone gets to participate. That's a really good idea. Love it. And the skits that we do have the scripts for them. There are 3 that we know of. They're out there. They're on the Move to Amend website, but we'll make them all on this page so that they're easy to find and gives you, and we have directions for making a corporate person costume and other materials that would be helpful. So someone else asks, sorry, hold on one second. Maureen wants to know, should we not go to the court if we're planning a January 21st event? Well, obviously, we've kind of got 2 things going on at once, but they certainly could be combined. If you were going to do something for January 21st, maybe a way to do something on the 20th as well, as you could do an action at the court, a rally, an outside thing on a weekday when there's more people, the court will be open. And then on that Saturday, you could have an event in the day or in the evening that's inside, even celebrating the action from the day before, or having a performance or speakers or some other educational opportunity for folks. You could combine the 2. We're not saying that you can't do both, and it might just be a question of what's most strategic for you. We're doing the house parties with other organizations, and we had kind of gotten involved in that before you came to us with this idea for Occupy the Courts, but we really liked the idea, so we wanted to include that as another opportunity. And I think Steve is definitely right that the Occupy the Courts, because it's on a Friday, it is a way to really focus and channel the energy and potentially get a lot of media. And if we can really show that we're in every single place where there are federal courts, that'll be a really powerful message. So we do encourage folks to participate in that Friday action and figure out how to tie it in with the action the next day if you still want to do that.
It's like David Cobb says in a different context. It's not an either or, it's a yeah, both. If you want to do something or are planning on doing something for January 21st, more power to you. Great. But we really would hope to get as many Move to Amend affiliates and supporters out in front of a federal courthouse on January 20th as we can across the country.
And we're actually reaching out to other groups to join our call, so it might all not be Move to Amend entirely, folks, and we would welcome that if folks don't entirely identify that way yet. We're a coalition organization, and we're definitely committed to working in coalition, which is why we're working on those house parties with a number of different groups.
And,
so
and
there's some other questions.
Caitlin, I can tell you that the Colorado Common Cause has expressed an interest in being involved in January 20th action as well. So it is something that other groups hopefully will see the wisdom of and want to get involved too.
Great. So there are some more questions. I knew that I shouldn't turn it off yet. So Diane from Portland wants to know, do you expect any pushback from Homeland Security about the January 20th events?
As a lawyer, I would say I would expect them to be looking at us. I wouldn't expect any kind of a pushback I would not expect that. We're exercising our First Amendment rights that we have a right to do. If we get a pushback from Homeland Security about it, that's a indication of the extent of the problem. So, no, I'm not. I know that especially when you're dealing with the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., and if you are having named celebrities, like we're trying to get some named legislators and celebrities at different events, they look much more carefully from a security point of view for those types of things in Washington. But no, I wouldn't expect a pushback from Homeland Security.
And remember that we are encouraging folks who feel comfortable to do civil disobedience, but we're encouraging every one of the events to also have a permit and be legally permitted as well. So if folks want to take it a step further, they can, but that would be individuals, and you would still have a permitted event. So that part of it shouldn't raise any ire. Shouldn't, we say. So Jane from Tewksbury wants to know, we should make the current Occupy people aware of this so they can participate. Absolutely. We actually have drafted up an announcement to those folks, and we've been in touch with a number of different Occupy events over the last month and a half or so anyway, and we will be reaching out. And it would be great if the Occupies are still going on, if they would just move over to the courthouse that day, and that's what we're hoping we would see.
And if they have moved indoors for the winter, this would be a good midwinter opportunity for them to come out. Every Occupy person that I've spoken to in Denver is very excited about this idea, and they are starting, as I said, to see us as the action step for all that righteous anger out there. And there is a lot of righteous anger, but people are now trying to look for the next step, and a lot of them are seeing Move to Amend as that next step.
Right. Scott from Valencia, California is wondering if there's a range in terms of fines for first-time offenders in terms of civil disobedience. What are the penalties for something like this?
All right. If we, one of the things that we will do, and I have a meeting scheduled with the head of the National Lawyers Guild here in Colorado to sit down and talk to him about what type of charges we could expect to take if anybody non-violently blocks access to the federal court. I don't have an answer for you on that right now, but we will get it. My guess is that if it's non-violent civil disobedience, likely to get some sort of a misdemeanor trespass charge. But what happens often in civil disobedience, if people aren't properly trained, is that it then gets out of hand, and they start to fight back against the police who are trying to arrest them, and then they end up getting charged with more serious assault on a police officer charges. One of the things that we'll incorporate into this, if people want it to be a civil disobedience action, and we're certainly looking to you, the affiliates, to let us know if this is something that you want to do, would be to arrange for training at the local level through a group like the National Lawyers Guild. They provide civil disobedience training, how to react to the police, how to non-violently offer yourself up for arrest so they don't strap down the handcuffs too tightly, to have legal observers from the National Lawyers Guild present to make sure that the police are not being abusive, and to record their actions if they are, and those are the kinds of things that I'm looking at to incorporate into this if people tell us yes, we want to do civil disobedience. There's training that needs to be done for people who are going to take an arrest over a matter of conscience, and nobody should do it just on a lark without that kind of training and that kind of briefing as to what to expect.
And we might do like another conference call, later this month or in early December to give folks an opportunity to get that through us. And then every community has folks who have been arrested before and been trained in doing nonviolent civil disobedience. And so helping you connect with those folks will be part of what we'll do to make sure that, like Steve said, you're not on your own on that. There are a bunch more questions, so I'll keep going. Jim from Biloxi, Mississippi, would like clarification on the constitutional amendment Move to Amend is proposing. Is it just for the Citizens United or for corporate personhood that was created in the late 1800s? So Jim and everyone, from the beginning, Move to Amend has been very clear that we absolutely need a constitutional amendment to abolish all corporate constitutional rights and also establish that money is not speech. And unless we have both of those two things, and that it's not just about Citizens United, that's just the latest example. But if we have anything less than that, then we won't be really solving the problem. And so we've been really clear about that in our minds from the beginning, and hope that, and we're finding that position really is the one that gets the most traction and interest from folks as soon as they learn more about all the ramifications of corporate personhood. And if folks need information about that because they're new or still want to learn more, MoveToAmend.org has a lot of information. And if you do a search on our site, there's an article called Why Abolish All Corporate Constitutional Rights for Corporations, and that really spells out why we can't be just talking about the First Amendment, which is what Citizens United was about. Milo from West Palm Beach tells us that he wants to write a little courtroom drama putting the Koch brothers on trial for committing crimes against democracy. That's great, and if you can get that to us, we'll add it to the resources section of the website, Milo. Maureen says, how about doing Occupy the Court rather than January 21st? Well, that's for you all to decide with your events. January 21st is the anniversary, and there will be the actual anniversary, and there will be a number of organizations that are, calling on folks to do action on that date, but it's a Saturday, so only certain kinds of actions would be successful in that realm, and doesn't really mesh with Occupy the Court to be on the same day. So as we go forward, we'll need to figure out how to help folks decide and or do both, but I'm sure we can make that work. Certainly occupying the court for 2 days and having an action, and then if there was something that you wanted to do that was less about stopping business or interrupting business and more about education of your folks, that might be a way to combine the two. Or like I said, doing a different kind of event on the 21st. But if folks would rather just take that opportunity to go with Occupy the Court on the 20th, there's no reason why that's not fine as well. And the House parties could plan for an Occupy the Court event. They're almost right at the same time. So we wanted to throw this in there before you do have your House parties. So that's one of the options that you can consider with your guests if that's the way you want to go. Ruth Ann from Delaware asks, do you have a proposal written to present to the Occupy, I'm assuming she means Wall Street General Assembly? And the answer is yes. And so we'll be distributing that this week. And then Mike asks, what about the vote in Boulder this week? Well, I can take that because I've been on the phone all day about that. The vote's today in Boulder, and we're expecting that to win handsomely. We won't know until polls close, which will be in the next 10 minutes, I think. So we will be getting press out about that, and then Missoula will be voting on it next Tuesday as well. But the folks at Boulder Move to Amend, and Rick is one of the folks on this call. He's our affiliate coordinator from Boulder, have done a great job, great work, and we're really looking for a good splash as a result of their efforts in Boulder. And if anybody wants to run resolutions like the one that they ran in Boulder, there's a lot of information on the Move to Amend website in the toolkit where you can learn, you can download sample language, and you can get started on doing a ballot initiative campaign like Boulder did in their community. Let's see. Ruth Ann asks, in Delaware, I have been targeting water protection groups who clearly see the connection. Has anyone written an invitation for Native American tribes to participate, and how this work will specifically address their issues? Ruth Ann, that's a great point that I don't think has quite happened yet, but you're absolutely right. We do have some relationships with Native communities and or organizations that are led by Native folks. And so I know that you have our email address. Let's follow up and talk more about that and how to do that. That's a really good idea.
And Caitlin, if I can jump in here, I can tell you that it's not just Native American groups who are interested in the water issue. Here in Colorado, we have a huge segment of society that is very concerned with fracking and the effect on our very limited water resources out here, and the people who live in areas where the fracking is happening or where the fracking is being proposed. They are also very sensitive to the issue, and they see the connection. And I've gone out and given presentations out on the plains to people, and they understand it on an instinctive level as well.
And just to follow on the question about Boulder, Rick is from Boulder is clarifying with me that the polls close at 7, like I said, Mountain Standard Time, so that's 1 hour away, and 1 hour and 10 minutes. And it's a vote by mail, which I keep forgetting because their election day is today instead of the regular election day next week, so they have a slightly different election going on today. So it's vote by mail, and so the ballots will probably all be counted by tomorrow, so we probably won't know tonight, like normal returns from precincts. And so we'll be check the Move to Amend Facebook or website for news about what happens in Boulder. But when Madison, Wisconsin ran a similar initiative in April, their initiative passed by 82% of the vote. So, and we have had a similar response in Boulder in terms of number of volunteers and enthusiasm and people turning out who wouldn't have otherwise. So we expect it to be a big win in Boulder as well. Are there any other questions or comments? This has been a really great, your questions have been great, and that's helped shape some of what we know we'll need to put up on the website in terms of resources.
Can I ask this, Caitlin, to the people who are listening, if you think that what we're talking about here is a good idea, could you just type in a 1? If you're not a fan of the idea, could you type in 2?
Oh, wait, I actually have a way we could do a poll.
Ooh. Technology.
Let me start it up. I think I can. Folks seeing a poll on your screen?
I'm not seeing one.
Oh. There we go.
There you go. Well, I'm going to vote.
Well, I was seeing the no as people were saying that they couldn't see the poll, and I was like, oh no, but it looks like people like it.
It
Yay!
looks like they do. Great. I can tell you that Caitlin has given me or I have access to the phone numbers for affiliates and affiliate leaders out there. I am going to be calling each and every one of you individually, trying to encourage you to do this and get involved. I just want this to be a huge success. I think it's important to the country that Move to Amend reclaim the lead on this issue. This is an issue that we're all passionate about, that we all understand better than most people do. And again, I think if we can lead them by example to the right choice. And we're going to have to do that if we're going to get a resolution or an amendment passed, we're going to have to educate people, and this is a first good effort at that on a nationwide concerted effort. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great to see so much enthusiasm, and I'm going to put a final screen up here for folks in terms of next steps. There is a survey at the end of this webinar for folks to give us feedback on how this worked for you, and also let us know if you still have questions or if you still have needs that we can help with. Our next webinar will be on December 6th. They're always on the first Tuesday of the month, and everyone's welcome, no matter how involved with Move to Amend you are or how new you are, so feel free to tell your friends. And like I said, this webinar was recorded, so it'll be available at the Move to Amend website, movetoamend.org/webinars. And next month we'll be doing earning media attention, and Kaya Rabane, who's the coordinator from South Central Wisconsin Move to Amend, our Madison affiliate in Wisconsin, will be leading that training, and it'll be perfect for setting us up for getting good media attention for our events on January 20th or January 21st, 2012. And if folks still have questions, you can contact us. And I know Steve is oriented towards the affiliates as the Denver coordinator for Move to Amend, but I know there's a lot of folks who are on this call who are not Move to Amend affiliates, and so we welcome your participation with Move to Amend. We look forward to working with you in whatever capacity, and then if you're already hosting a house party, we'll see you tomorrow evening, where we'll do the full test of the technology using the video and the other conference call line, make sure everything is working well, and get you all ready to go for the address from Bernie Sanders and your house party next week. And if you're not part of a house party, if you're not a host, I really encourage you to check out movetoamend.org, look in our Take Action section, and the top action there at the moment, actually I think Occupy the Courts might be up first, but right after that is Host a House Party, and if you click that link, even not as a host, you can check out the map and see if there are house parties near you that you could join with. And I think that I missed a question from Sharon about combining house parties. We can talk about that more tomorrow, but also, by all means, I'll just say now, if folks are seeing that there are house parties nearby in your town, feel free to contact the other hosts and connect and figure out how to pick one venue and make it so that you'll have, you know, the biggest group of people there that you can get. So I think we're good. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your good discussion and for being here tonight. And I'll look forward to talking to you either tomorrow or next month on the next webinar or whenever our paths cross. And we'll be in touch more about the resources for Occupy the Court and how we can be working together to make that a really big and really successful day of action.
Hey, Caitlin, before you go, there is a late question. Says, can we publicize this idea now in talks with the public?
Oh.
I had the same question.
Yeah, go ahead and put it out there. Direct folks to movetoamend.org/Occupy the Courts. And, you know, there isn't enough info there yet to really get started, but it gives people the sense of it. So by all means, direct people to that and let folks know where we are telling you about it, because we're